Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating aspect of human behavior: the psychology of people who live in the past. Have you ever caught yourself replaying old memories like a favorite movie, unable to hit the pause button? Or perhaps you know someone who's constantly reminiscing about the good old days, while the present slips by unnoticed? This isn't just harmless nostalgia. For many, it's a way of life that shapes their thoughts, emotions, and decisions. In this exploration, we'll unpack what it truly means to be anchored in the past, why some people get stuck there, the psychological mechanisms at play, and ultimately, how understanding this can lead to a more balanced existence. By the end, you'll have a clearer picture of why the past holds such power over us and what we can do about it. Let's start by defining what we mean by living in the past. It's more than occasional reflection. It's a persistent mental state where past experiences dominate one's current reality. These individuals might dwell on regrets, lost opportunities, or idealized versions of bygone eras. They could be replaying a failed relationship, mourning a career that didn't pan out, or romanticizing a childhood that seems perfect in hindsight. Psychologically, this is often linked to rumination, a repetitive focus on negative aspects of the past, which can become a cognitive habit. According to psychological research, rumination isn't just idle thinking. It's a maladaptive coping strategy that reinforces emotional distress. Why does this happen? To understand, we need to look at the roots of human memory and emotion. Our brains are wired to learn from history. Evolutionarily, remembering past dangers or successes helped our ancestors survive. But in modern times, this wiring can backfire. For some, living in the past stems from unresolved trauma. Think about post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, where flashbacks transport someone back to a horrific event as if it's happening now. The amygdala, the brain's fear center, goes into overdrive, hijacking rational thought and keeping the person trapped in a loop of reliving the pain. Even without full-blown PTSD, milder forms of trauma, like a painful breakup or a public humiliation, can create emotional anchors that pull us backward. Beyond trauma, attachment styles play a crucial role. Developed in early childhood, these styles influence how we relate to the world. Someone with an anxious attachment might cling to past relationships, fearing abandonment in the present. They idealize ex-partners or old friendships, convinced that nothing new could measure up. On the other hand, avoidant attachers might retreat into the past to avoid vulnerability now, using memories as a shield against forming deep connections. Psychologists like John Bowlby, who pioneered attachment theory, argued that these patterns are blueprints laid down in infancy, but they can evolve, or devolve, over time if not addressed. Nostalgia, often painted as a warm, fuzzy feeling, is another gateway to living in the past. Coined in the 17th century to describe homesickness among soldiers, nostalgia today is a bittersweet emotion that blends pleasure with longing. Research from the University of Southampton shows that nostalgia can boost mood and provide a sense of continuity in a chaotic world. However, when it becomes chronic, it turns problematic. People who live in the past through nostalgia might surround themselves with relics, old photos, music from their youth, or even outdated fashions, as if preserving a museum of their life. This isn't inherently bad, but it can lead to dissatisfaction with the present, where reality never quite matches the polished glow of memory. Let's consider the cognitive biases that fuel this tendency. One key player is the availability heuristic, where we judge the likelihood of events based on how easily they come to mind. If past failures are more vivid than recent successes, we overestimate their importance, leading to a skewed worldview. Confirmation bias kicks in too. We seek out information that reinforces our past-focused narrative, like scrolling through old social media posts that highlight happier times. Over time, this creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. By fixating on what was, we miss opportunities for what could be. Now, imagine a person named Alex, a composite based on common psychological profiles. Alex is in their mid-40s, working a stable but unfulfilling job. Every evening, Alex pores over high school yearbooks, reminiscing about being the star athlete. Back then, life felt full of promise. Now, it's a grind of bills and routines. Psychologically, Alex is engaging in what experts call temporal discounting, where the value of past rewards overshadows future ones. This isn't laziness, it's a defense mechanism. By idealizing the past, Alex avoids confronting current unhappiness, like a stagnant career or strained family ties. Delving deeper, let's explore the neurobiology behind this. The hippocampus, responsible for memory formation, works in tandem with the prefrontal cortex, which handles executive functions like planning. In people who live in the past, there's often hyperactivity in memory retrieval networks but underactivity in areas for future-oriented thinking. Studies using fMRI scans reveal that chronic ruminators show stronger connections between the default mode network, active during mind-wandering, and emotional processing regions. This means their brains default to past narratives during downtime, making it hard to stay present. Emotionally, the toll is significant. Living in the past correlates with higher rates of depression and anxiety. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that individuals who frequently ruminate on past events report lower life satisfaction and higher stress levels.
Why?
Because the past is unchangeable, leading to feelings of helplessness. Regret, a common companion, amplifies this. Psychologist Neil Rose describes regret as a counterfactual emotion, where we imagine alternative outcomes. If only I'd taken that job, or what if I'd said yes? While occasional regret motivates growth, chronic regret paralyzes, turning the mind into a prison of what-ifs. Socially, this mindset affects relationships. People stuck in the past might compare current partners to exes, fostering resentment or unrealistic expectations. They could withdraw from social circles, preferring solitary reflection over new interactions. In families, it manifests as parents imposing their unfulfilled dreams on children, or elders dominating conversations with stories from decades ago. Culturally, entire societies can live in the past. Think of nations glorifying historical empires while ignoring present challenges. This collective nostalgia can fuel political movements, as seen in appeals to make things great again, tapping into shared yearnings for simpler times. But it's not all doom and gloom. There's a positive side to drawing from the past. Wisdom, for instance, comes from reflecting on experiences. Elders who integrate past lessons into present advice often lead fulfilling lives. The key is balance, using the past as a teacher, not a tyrant. Psychologists distinguish between bittersweet nostalgia, which enhances well-being, and obsessive passion for the past, which hinders it. The former involves fond recall that inspires, the latter, fixation that isolates. Shifting gears, let's examine personality traits that predispose someone to this lifestyle. Introverts, with their rich inner worlds, might find solace in memories more than extroverts, who thrive on novelty. High neuroticism, a big 5 personality trait, increases vulnerability to negative rumination. Perfectionists, too, often dwell on past mistakes, viewing them as indelible stains on their self-worth. Conversely, those high in openness might romanticize past adventures, but they're better at channeling that into creative pursuits. Environmental factors can't be ignored. In a fast-paced world of social media, where curated highlights reels bombard us, it's easy to compare our present to others' polished pasts. Economic instability or personal losses, like job redundancy or bereavement, can thrust someone backward, seeking comfort in familiarity. During global crises, such as pandemics or recessions, collective living in the past surges as people yearn for pre-crisis normalcy. To illustrate, consider historical figures who've embodied this psychology. Winston Churchill, despite his forward-thinking leadership, was known for dwelling on Britain's imperial past, which influenced his policies. Or take Marcel Proust, whose epic novel, In Search of Lost Time, is a meditation on memory's grip. Proust's Madeleine cookie episode, where a taste triggers a flood of recollections, mirrors how sensory cues can yank us back in time. These examples show that living in the past isn't limited to the ordinary. It affects geniuses and leaders alike. Now, let's probe the developmental angle. Childhood experiences shape our temporal orientation. If a child's early years were marked by instability, divorce, moves, or abuse, they might idealize any stable moments, clinging to them as adults. Erik Erikson's stages of psychosocial development highlight this. Unresolved conflicts in stages like industry versus inferiority can lead to lifelong regret over perceived failures. In adolescence, when identity forms, pivotal events like first loves or academic triumphs become benchmarks, hard to surpass in adulthood. Gender differences emerge in research too. Women, on average, report higher levels of rumination, possibly due to societal pressures around relationships and appearance. Men might live in the past through career regrets or lost physical prowess. Cultural norms play a part. In collectivist societies, ancestral reverence encourages past focus, while individualist cultures push for future goals. The middle of our journey brings us to the consequences on mental health. Chronic past dwelling exacerbates conditions like major depressive disorder. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT models show how distorted thinking, catastrophizing past events, perpetuates cycles of low mood. Anxiety disorders thrive here too. Worrying about repeating past mistakes turns into anticipatory dread. Physically, the stress from constant emotional churn raises cortisol levels, linking to issues like insomnia, weakened immunity, and even cardiovascular problems. Yet, the brain's plasticity offers hope. Neuroscientists emphasize that habits like rumination can be rewired through practices that strengthen present-moment awareness. But we'll circle back to solutions later. For now, let's acknowledge the depth of the struggle. Another layer, the role of grief. Unresolved grief keeps people tethered to the past, as Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages illustrate: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Getting stuck in bargaining, if only I'd done differently, prolongs the process. For those who've lost loved ones, living in the past means preserving the deceased's memory, but at the cost of their own vitality. In the workplace, this psychology manifests as resistance to change. Employees who pine for how things used to be hinder innovation, leading to stagnation. Leaders must recognize this to foster adaptability. As we approach the heart of this discussion, consider the interplay with aging. Older adults often reminisce more, a process called life review by psychiatrist Robert Butler. It's therapeutic, helping integrate life's narrative. However, when it dominates, it signals depression. Younger people living in the past might miss developmental milestones, like building careers or families. Philosophically, thinkers like Nietzsche warned against historicism, where excessive past focus stifles creativity. He advocated monumental history, using the past inspirationally, versus antiquarian history, which preserves it obsessively. Now, transitioning toward resolution, it's crucial to recognize signs of problematic past living. Frequent phrases like, back in my day, avoidance of new experiences, or emotional numbness in the present. Self-awareness is the first step. To break free, mindfulness-based interventions shine. Techniques from John Kabat-Zinn's mindfulness-based stress reduction program train the mind to observe thoughts without judgment, gently redirecting from past loops. CBT challenges cognitive distortions, reframing regrets as learning opportunities. Positive psychology offers tools too. Gratitude journals shift focus to present blessings, while savoring exercises, fully immersing in current joys, counter nostalgia's pull. Building future-oriented goals, like vision boards, reorients the mind. Therapy modalities like EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, process trauma, freeing stuck memories. For attachment issues, schema therapy uncovers deep-seated beliefs. Social support is vital. Sharing stories with trusted friends dilutes the past's intensity. Engaging in novel activities, travel, hobbies, creates new memories, diluting old ones' dominance. In conclusion, the psychology of people who live in the past reveals the profound hold memory has on us. From evolutionary wiring to personal traumas, cognitive biases to cultural influences, it's a multifaceted phenomenon that can enrich or imprison. While the past offers lessons and comfort, overindulgence robs us of the present's vibrancy and the future's potential. By understanding these dynamics, we empower ourselves to integrate history without being defined by it. Remember, life unfolds now, so let's honor the past, but live fully in the moment. Thank you for joining this deep dive. May it inspire you to step forward with renewed perspective.